Welcome to Linux Saloon, a place to discuss tech, open source, where Linux is always on tap. Didn't have that scene quite ready yet. Each show we'll have a talk about Linux projects such as a Linux distribution, desktop environment, or application. We also chat about the news or any variety of topics from the community. Anything that is Linux, tech, and open source related is on the table for discussion. I'm Nate, a Linux fitness and vintage tech enthusiast with an almost unhealthy obsession with lots of things, including OpenSUSE. With me today, I got a fantastic panel of people. I've got Mike Chilson, I've got Jinda and Adam Grubbs. How is everybody doing today?
Excellent.
Yeah, we good, man.
Oh, fantastic. Well, it is the middle of summer, and I know that if you're in the northern hemisphere, that means that things are warm, and I like it. Does anybody here like the hot weather, or am I the cheese that stands alone on that one?
I would much rather the winter.
Ah, okay.
I'm okay with it.
I like the warm. I don't do well with cold. But on the table for discussion, we got ourselves an open mic night. We're going to kick off that conversation with a straw poll, which is, do you use AI? If you have not done the straw poll, please do so.
I put it in the chat in the YouTube thing, so
Oh, fantastic.
hopefully people can find it sitting there.
I was actually in the wrong show notes just now, so there's that.
Oh, cool.
And I gave you the wrong show notes, so there is that. Let me try that again.
Oh, man.
So if you must know, I was at a graduation party and I totally lost track of time. So I apologize to everybody in the chat and here for not paying attention to my clock. I'm actually terrible about watching the clock. I have a phone on me. I need to watch. Does anybody here use a watch? Like, does anybody still wear watches?
No, I had to ditch them. I just kept breaking out in hives from them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the pressure. So I stopped wearing watches. I just never went back to doing it again. Whatever allergy I had at the time was bothering me.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't like also like, I don't know if hives is the right thing, but like just it would get reddish from that could be hives. I don't know what it is.
That was what I thought it was.
Some kind of skin irritation anyway. So yeah, good times, great oldies. All right, so I was going to ask then, what have you been doing in Linux and tech? Does anybody have anything they want to kick this off with, to share with the class today? Anything? Nothing?
Well, I picked up a really cheap laptop and been messing with Linux on that. It's pretty great. I got an EliteBook 850 G7. So it's a 10th gen i5, 16 gig of RAM, and 512 gig SSD. Mm-hmm. And it still has a pretty good battery, 84% left on it. 1080p IPS display, and it was $150.
That's a good price.
Wow.
Yeah,
I just
and it's
swung
in
that.
amazing condition. Just a few scratches, no structural damage, no cracks on the screen, no dead pixels.
Yeah, see, that's pretty awesome.
As a local purchase off of Facebook Marketplace.
So
it's pretty awesome.
Why didn't they want it anymore?
Now I know 10th generation is like 5 years old now. I understand that. I cognitively acknowledge, but to me it seems like
it actually was purchased in 2021, and it's still, as of the day I bought it, it still had 21 days left on the warranty.
Really?
Yeah.
So it just ran out, like what, last week?
No, it still probably has like a week or so left of the warranty. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so this was it's not the Ice Lake 10th gen, it's the Comet Lake 10th gen, which is basically the 8th gen refresh. But like, so it doesn't have like AV1 decode or anything like that.
Okay.
But no, it's a great little machine, $150. I mean, those are some solid specs for $150.
Yeah,
and
for
it's
sure.
in really good condition. Thunderbolt 3 ports and everything. Mm-hmm. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, I have a when I got laid off from my last job back in the crazy year 2020, they gave me an 840 G7, which is a 10th gen with an i5 in it. And I used that computer for basically up until 2023 regularly. And the main reason that I stopped using it was because I got a framework. And the main reason I got a framework was because the keyboard decided it would stop like holding onto the keys.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very difficult for me to type when the keys fall off. I haven't replaced the keyboard yet, but I think it types very well. It's actually it's a solid keyboard. It feels like when it's working, it's a great keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I hope you get. Now maybe something stepped on the keyboard, like a chicken or a cat or something. I know that sounds weird, but or both. But it just all of a sudden it was the T key specifically that just started flying off, and I'm not sure the T because I don't use the T all that often. So I'm like relatively speaking compared to the other letters.
Right.
Maybe I spelled the too many times. But yeah, that's awesome. So what do you have on it now?
Sorry, I was coughing.
That's right. I won't hold
What's on it right now?
Yeah.
Actually, I have Debian on it right now.
Okay.
Debian 13. I have it because I figured it's about to come out, so I just went ahead and
Trixie,
changed
is it?
sources over to Trixie. Yeah. And just giving that a whirl. Got the ButterFS snapshots and all that good stuff set up.
How difficult was that to set up on Debian?
Not particularly difficult. I mean, at least for me, like I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that a new person could do it, but I don't think it was all that difficult if you're able to follow instructions.
Does it have the integration with Grub so you can go back into?
You can enable that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the Grub BTR FSD, yeah.
Is that is? Is the same thing that the OpenSUSE uses?
Yeah.
Okay.
And OpenSUSE also has their snapper rollback functionality, open source as well, of course. So you can just pull that in for easy rollbacks.
Yeah, that's what I like. I was experimenting with Waydroid again, and so I was installing all the bits and pieces to it, and then I couldn't get it to work. I'm like, I don't want to leave this, so I just rolled it back and pretend like I never did it. So
yeah, any distro I have that's not an image based one, I always set up with ButterFS snapshots.
Mm-hmm. So I wonder if does Bazzite have Waydroid integration built into it?
I think it does.
I think the uBlue guys have that, yeah.
Because if
I
you
don't know
have
if Bazzite does, I think Bluefin does, and Aurora.
Because if you were to have if you were to have all that, because if they do, then I'm sure Bazzite would then too. Because I'm just thinking in my mind, if you have all that functionality just like baked into the core image, something that I don't have to faff with, I mean, that would be pretty compelling right there.
For sure.
Yeah. I don't think that, Aurora doesn't come stock, but I think you can easily add it. And I don't think you have to mess with it too much to get it working.
And like for it to work properly in Tumbleweed, you actually have to use an LTS kernel or something like that. I can't remember exactly the verbiage they use, but basically it's a longer term support, so you don't have the rolling kernel thing going on. Which, I don't know.
Would ZKMS or something work for that?
Yeah.
Well, it's what the Waydroid tutorial was recommending. So you're probably right. You can probably do that no problem. I just said that's what the recommendation was.
I'll have to look into it. That's actually a really good Waydroid. Yeah.
So I'll probably play around with it again. I just didn't have enough time. I'm not gonna say I had any time to kill necessarily, but I had like a window of time of about 30 minutes to play around with Waydroid a little bit again, and I couldn't get it to initialize. I went through the steps. I must have missed something because maybe I'm, slow, but anyway, that happens. Well, cool. So Debian on your EliteBook 850 G7.
That's what's on there right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I've tried a bunch of stuff so far, but yeah.
How is that running? Does it seem like it's a pretty
Runs
decent?
great. I mean, given that it's a few years behind on hardware, of course it's all supported well.
Yeah, it's
which
good.
is nice. Yeah, I've noticed that power power consumption seems to be a bit lower when running plasma than GNOME, but not a substantial amount, but a little bit. Like I think I end up with about 15 to 30 minutes less on GNOME than I do on plasma.
Really, that actually surprises me. I thought Gnome had that all kind of dialed in. I guess.
No, it also depends on the distro itself, right? Some of them will default to like just the plain power profiles name, and some will, yeah, like an Arch. I usually use the Tune D and the Tune D power profiles name and
Hmm.
backwards compatible thing. Those tend to run. Tune D seems to do a better job as well at that, um, just inherently. But sort of an apples to apples, like Plasma on Debian seems to give me a little bit more battery than GNOME does.
Because I know you really are a fan of Gnome and the look of Gnome. I think if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I would prefer GNOME, but I could totally live on Plasma. Man, I use so many different operating systems throughout the week. Like, it doesn't even matter at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Like
hear you.
my machine is a Mac, and I work on Windows and Linux servers. So just in a single day, I'm all over the place. So
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't work on any. We don't have any Mac computers. We have a lot of iOS devices, but no Mac computers.
think of it as a choice between a Windows box and a Mac.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
I set up a Windows server a few years ago for a customer, and I'll just put it this way, I've never set one up since. I did not like the experience.
I, I will say all of my and I'm gonna preface this with like I have like my way that I want to do things, and so that's
Mm,
my bias. So
mm,
when I use a Mac, I feel like I don't have the lowest portion of my digits. Like I'm typing, like everything I'm doing, I'm like maybe I didn't get my polio shot or something, and I feel like I'm stupid when when I use a Mac. Like I literally feel like this is because I do have to
mm.
use one on occasion, and I just and I have three Macs actually, but only one of my I use regularly, which is a System
Right.
6 machine. Um,
Oh wow.
anyway,
Yeah.
so but I just it's to me it's very difficult I think to use. Like I'm sure it's a me problem. Like I don't want to because obviously people
Yeah,
like it.
it's one of those like if you do it long enough, you'll be all right, right?
Yeah,
You
but
just have to
honestly,
kind of go through that pain to get to there. Yeah.
but honestly, if I have to choose between Windows 11 and Mac OS, I would take Windows 11 10 times out of 10. That's that's how I honestly feel, and it's not because I like Windows. It's I find it um, less frustrating. I think
Mm.
so. Again, it's power.
I would imagine too that if you're dealing with working for a company that that's their primary platform, that could be rather annoying to not run Windows, you know. So
The
Oh,
only thing that's annoying is when if you have to interact with like Active Directory resources.
right.
There's not really any great tools for doing that on a Mac directly, but usually you would have some kind of jump box or something you would log into through RDP to do that. You wouldn't just
oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you'll have like some Windows VM hanging out somewhere that you just use for that.
Right. That's kind of how I play too. If I need to interact with the Active Directory, I use a Windows machine that I jump into, or a VM, or a just another machine.
You guys want to hear something funny? Talking about
Yes.
Windows. I have a customer who I do a lot of uh, DevOps work for, help them set up things and so forth. And they basically gave me a Windows machine, an Alienware Dell Windows machine. And I have it set up on the other side of my office on a little, remember the old single computer tables, just for a workstation. I don't even sit down over there anymore. I run it via RDP through my Linux box. And it's just, to me, it's a lot easier to do that because then I can switch back and forth easily. So,
Yeah, it makes sense.
Ideally, I'd rather just interact with everything through configuration management and not ever have to touch the actual OS.
right.
Well, yeah, I can see that. But I like to meddle though too. But it's probably not the highest and best use of my time sometimes to just If I think Adam, if I were smart like you, Adam, then I think I would probably say the same thing. But because I don't have the experience in doing that, I
think that's more of a scale problem. If I have to work with too many servers at once, and there's just no way I could do it manually one by one.
Yeah,
it would just take too much time.
Yeah, we don't have between the three sites. I think I have like 40 I interact with, so it's not very many.
Yeah, if I get
So Prophetic, I think
if you're wondering where the tornadoes are,
in Prophetic's backyard apparently.
But yeah, if I get a request to build 4 or 5
It's a little better.
servers, it would just take too long to
Yes.
do one
Yes.
at a time.
Yes, sir.
So I will say using YAML to deploy Linux systems at this point is way nicer than manually doing it. But there's I do have a golden image set up for Windows systems that I can use to deploy, but I haven't had any just set any up in a while.
What'd you build that with? I'm curious.
The golden image.
Mm-hmm.
So I just use the tools built into Harvester, SUSE virtualizer.
Okay.
And it worked.
Oh, so
pretty well.
you're just cloning an existing.
Yeah, basically. So I have an
VM
image
template thing.
right, and then I can deploy it with all the necessary bits and pieces that are needed for our network.
If you ever get bored, look into HashiCorp Packer. Pretty great.
What's it called?
It's called Packer, Packer. It's
As
from
in-
HashiCorp. They
Not
it's
as in
basically
Green Bay.
No. It is an infrastructure as code tool for building golden images. So you can declare your images in code, and you can interact with various hypervisor and other providers to build those images programmatically. So you can kind of keep track of your changes through your Git tree, basically, right?
Oh, that's neat. Yeah, I haven't actually had to set one up anyway, and actually going forward, this is not really a good Linux Saloon discussion, but some of I really would like to move our file server off of Windows onto a Linux-based system, but we're pretty tightly integrated with different Active Directory bits to it, so I don't know if that's going to work. And then also our SQL as well, but I don't know. I would rather not break things for the sake of my need to move to open source alternatives. You know what I mean?
When I know it.
Do it.
Right.
Do it.
Do it. Is that as Palpatine would say? All right. So I guess we'll go ahead and get into the straw poll. If you have not done so already, knock out that straw poll if you want. It's do you regularly use AI? And so that's as a chatbot or generate images and videos, program code, etc. Do you use AI? So I'll go ahead and look at that right now. Does anybody here use AI? I know, Adam, you're the one that first told me to use AI for code, generating code, which I'd say it's about 90% there for me, anyway. But,
Yeah, it's good for boilerplate code. That's the one thing that I see. If you just tell it to do something and you just need a boilerplate code, it's great. But then you ask it to interact with things, it kind of falls apart.
Yeah, I can kind of agree with that. Yeah, to an extent. But if you give it smaller tasks to do, it's pretty all right for that. overall. It'll be way more accurate and way more usable when you're looking at smaller things. But yeah, if you try to fill out a whole whole program all at
Well,
once,
that's
you're
what
gonna
a,
get into a mess. Yeah.
isn't that what a program is? It's a whole bunch of little programs together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Pretty
So, I mean, you know, you start off small and build on it.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
you never want to give the LLM too much context because then it gets confused.
Right.
That's the
exactly.
idea.
So I've only-
Also, IAC, like configuration management, those kind of tools, like DevOps tools. Oh my God, it falls apart so fast on those.
Yeah.
Like, you give an LLM and ask it for some Ansible code, and about at least a third of the time, it'll just make up a module that doesn't exist.
That's awesome.
It'll just, stuff like that, like all the time. I see people at work using it, and I'm just like, they're like, hey, does this like, what about this as a solution? I'm like, that's not a module, that doesn't exist. Or they're like, what about this? I was like, it doesn't return that data type. Like, you can look at the documentation, it's not there,
Uh-huh.
And it's like the LLM's like, this sounds like a good thing, but it's like, yeah, it sounds great, but it doesn't exist. So what do you do?
Right.
I paid for the service and it got like distro boxes wrong. It said that distro boxes offered up sandboxing. I was like, no, it doesn't. Good catch.
Did,
Go ahead, Jinda.
did anybody play with Google's new VO3?
no.
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
I have, yeah.
Yeah, my sister was playing with it. It's pretty scary.
I'm one of the silly people who pay a lot of money for it, so yeah, it's pretty
Scary
awesome.
good or scary in general?
A little bit of both.
I can put a link in the chat,
A little
and
bit of both, yeah.
yeah, it's kind of really kind of scary. It's really, really, really good.
Yeah, it's pretty fun though.
It's
If the world's gonna burn, I'm at least gonna have fun while it burns.
yeah.
I mean, if we gotta go up in flames, I got some marshmallows.
Right. We're probably gonna go up in flames. Yeah. You can watch. I put a link in the video. You only have to watch like maybe 10 seconds of it. You don't have to have sound on or anything, and you'll see what it does.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Although the sound is the point of VO3.
Yeah. But the point is it's still scary.
So to back up what Adam said about using an AI agent is, I did some tests once about 3 or 4 months ago, and I wanted to see how well it could perform approaching a problem several different ways. And Adam's absolutely right. I mean, I tried giving it all the context. I tried giving it some basic context and then adding on pieces. And then I tried just, giving it some of my code and letting it add what I was asking for. And none of those worked well after a certain amount of time. As a matter of fact, most of the time they would start just getting into a loop of making recommendations of things that were not even there,
Yeah, it kind of like starts talking in circles and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and that's the best way to handle it is just use it for small pieces.
Right. It's like any other tool. You just have to kind of learn how to work with it. Right. Like if you use it the wrong way, you're gonna get bad results. And unfortunately, these tools are still very new and they're rapidly changing. So the way we were prompting it just a couple of years ago is so different to the way you prompt now.
Right.
Some of the context you would have given it before is not as useful now that it was, and it's kind of hard to learn a tool when the tool changes every 6 months.
Yeah. I will add one positive thing about it is that if you're using it for like business correspondence or working with data, it seems to do that really well. It can't. I guess it's just the complexity of programming. It just after a while, it just can't handle it anymore. It just starts hallucinating. So
I use it for a lot of things beyond just like writing code and talking to LLMs.
right.
I use the Gemini. So I subscribe to the Gemini Ultra, the stupid expensive one. That's probably a waste of money for most people, including myself. And so I use the Gemini Live a lot. So it's like the sort of voice talking back and forth conversation thing.
Yeah.
And I use that like just ideation kind of ideas, bouncing them back and forth. I use it because they have the ability to use your camera as well as screen shares and stuff. And obviously, with your permission, it doesn't do it without it, I assume. And so like I'll use the camera to like point at stuff. Like there was an image of a turtle that was in a picture that got sent to me, and I was like, "What kind of turtle is this?" So I just shared it with the Gemini Live. I was like, "What kind of turtle is this?" It's like, "Oh, it's a snapping turtle or whatever." And so like that's pretty useful. Or if I'm out and about and like there's a sticker on somebody's car, I'm like, "What is this symbol?" Like I don't know what this is. I can just point it at that, like, what's the sticker mean? That kind of thing is really useful.
Mm-hmm.
They actually have added in integration with Calendar and Keep, Google Keep for notes. So you can actually point the Gemini Live camera at like a calendar event, like an event on a poster or something, and just say like, add this to my calendar. It'll just do it and stuff like that. So like I use it for that kind of stuff all the time. Ideation, having it add in stuff to lists. So like I'm on a weight loss journey, so when I weigh myself, I just add it to a list, so I don't have to bother with the smart scale crap. And so I just talk to it that way. It's pretty useful for that. There's a lot of tools that Google has in their whole thing. Notebook LM. If you have not tried Notebook LM, oh man, that is the best tool they make easily.
So they'll probably not keep it then. That's what you're saying.
Oh, they will. Yeah, it's super useful, and a lot of people pay specifically for it.
Oh, really? Okay.
So it's hard to describe in a single sentence, but it's a tool where you can upload sources, whether they be web pages, YouTube videos, PDFs, documents of your own, videos, audio, any kind of collection of information you want to upload to a notebook. And then the LLM will analyze that data, and you can then ask it about that data, or you can have it generate a study guide from that data, or a FAQ from the data, a mind map from the data. It'll actually generate a podcast from the data as well. And you'll have these two people having a podcast about your information. And not only that, you can then interact with that podcast as they're talking. You can ask them questions while they're having their podcast, and they will respond to you.
That's kind of creepy.
It's amazing. It's actually really good. And like you can it can either find sources for you, or you can provide sources, whichever you choose. If you have documents in your Google Drive, those are available as well. It's an amazing tool. If you're studying for a certification or trying to learn new skills, just load as many PDFs and documents, give it links to documentation, all this stuff you can, and you just ask all the questions, get a study guide out of it. It's an amazing way to learn a new thing or study for a certification. Like,
that's pretty cool.
Highly recommend that. VO, you guys have mentioned, was the video generator. But they have a thing that goes with it. I think it's called Flow, and it's basically a VO3 video editor. And so you can create VO2 or 3, but it generates these clips of video that you can then edit together. And since it can see the previous videos, it can continue the continuity of it with the same people, the same whatever you have in it, right? And it creates this like video editing experience, so you can create longer clips with the video generation, which is where you get a lot of the crazier stuff. Because when you're only generating like a single VO3, it's not all that long, but stitching them together can create some pretty wacky stuff. There's a ton. Like they have all their Gemini integrations with their Google Workspace stuff, Gmail, Docs, etc. It's a pretty comprehensive set of stuff, and I use pretty much all of it. They have their Project Mariner is like a test thing they have, and that gives you basically an agent on the web that goes around and does things on the web for you, and you can like monitor it. You can see it doing the things. So like if I can I have like a local grocery store. If I want to do like grocery pickup, I can have it I can give basically the mariner a list of things that I want, and it will go onto the website and like fill out my cart and everything for me of all the things that I wanted, and then let me know when it's done, and I can go and check out that kind of
That
thing. Like
that's pretty wild.
you can have it like search for, search all these different websites for tickets or something you're trying to get, and have it, let you know when it finds one or whatever, that kind of thing. It's pretty neat.
So I'm sorry. Is that the Mariner? Is that also a Google thing too, or is it something
Yeah,
else?
yeah, that's a Google thing. Yeah.
If you can provide some links to that, I want to put it in the show notes just so people can check that out if they're
Yeah,
interested.
for sure. Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. That'd be great. That's neat. So we'll get to the straw poll here, see where we're at. Hopefully there's enough time for people to see what needs to be to vote. But let me check here real quick. So do you regularly use AI, chatbot, generate images, video, programming, etc.? So number one was yes at 56, almost 57%. No is at 37, almost 38%, and then Texas Penguin got about 5% of the votes. So I guess that means that
Oh, Diddy.
that we're
It's like the tech tux penguin, like yeah, yeah, I think it's like either a yes or no kind of a thing, but okay.
yeah, it's kind of like if you don't want to answer or whatever, just kind of like to throw the whole thing off.
I've played the fifth.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. So anyway, it looks like most people use it. I will have to say I use it, and I don't. I would say my experience is it's good at some things, it's not good at some things. The AI generated video stuff, I think it's okay. Like, like, if you have a cake, you don't want to eat just frosting, and so like it's sometimes like some of the AI stuff is kind of effect heavy or just has a weird almost lens to it. I can't really I can't articulate it, but it feels plasticky. And so I don't necessarily enjoy a lot of the AI stuff. Maybe like sprinkled in there, it's okay. Some of the AI stuff, like have you seen like the AI generated babies, like Theo Vaughn and Joe Rogan talking and stuff like that? Have you seen any of those? Those are
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, that's a great usage of AI because it made me laugh.
I've
And
generated
Yeah.
music as well. That was awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've done the
Yeah,
generated music.
I saw the Ted Cruz Tucker Carlson interview with the AI generated baby images.
It's just
That was
funny.
pretty funny, yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
then yeah.
So I find that to me is very funny. Like I think it's great. But like if they had like AI generated cat videos, no, because I like real cat videos, so I'm gonna watch cat videos, because they are funny cat videos.
Some are, yeah.
Or the owl videos. Have you seen the owl videos? The
Mhm.
shorts?
Yeah.
Those are funny too. Owls are creepy. I like them. I don't know why God gave us owls, but they're very funny animals. But anyway, so I think that's a fine usage. I personally use it. I use Grok a lot, but it's for like asking specific, poignant questions. But I always ask for references. Like I want, and it gives references automatically now too, which is nice. So I can go, sometimes it'll generate a nice summary for me, but I want to get a little more detail out of it, and I find that it's great as a jumping off point. So I guess I use it more like a search engine or a problem solver is really how I use it, because there's just so much on the
Research
internet.
assistant.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
research assistant. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's like the nice librarian, not like the one that was very cranky.
Yeah, and also when you need to write documentation, like it saves you hours of writing documentation. Like you can write like 3 pages of documentation in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And like you just probably need to change like 3 or 4 things or, just, a few things to kind of make it, to make it right. And it works. It's just like, oh wow, and it actually writes it better than I would have written it. So it's like, okay, win-win.
So I think I wouldn't say it's a better writer. I would say it's a better structured writer.
Yes. Yeah, it structures things really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for structured information like documentation, it does a really good job. It also does a great job of looking at data and doing some analysis on it for you.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Another thing that works well is SQL queries.
Oh, I'm
Oh
sure.
yeah.
Yes, for
It
sure. Yeah.
loves to write SQL
Ooh.
queries, and I've never had a SQL query that did not work once I explained, all the tables and their relationships.
Yeah, that's pretty
And so,
cool.
yeah, that kind of stuff works great.
One of the
Yeah.
things I did was I gave it a log file of, and be careful how I put this, because I gotta make sure I'm not going to violate anything here. I gave it a log file about the comings and goings of something, and I
Yep.
said, "Can you give me at any point in time did this happen outside of a time range and day and day of the week range?" And so it gave me a quick summary of when that did actually happen, and so I could
Yep.
take that and report that to people who would care. So to me, that was a very useful use of it because I could have done that. I could have like using like Excel or something like that. I could have very easily created some equations on there to give me a summary, like whatever. And so that was very useful. It cut down a lot of time for me very quickly. So I do appreciate that as well. I was able to get an answer very quickly. So I mean, I like that. I do. I say I really appreciate that. Also, if I have a problem, it really helps me with the problem solving. Like if I'm having an issue with a particular system, I had an issue where I could not get on this VM. I could not get it to recognize. It could see that the other but a drive was available and would mount it for storage on a Windows machine, Windows VM, and I did all the steps to enable the SAN basically some SAN rules, whatever. So I can't remember the exact verbiage of it, but anyway, so I gave it all the information to what was going on, and so it said try this, try this, try this. It gave me like basically a quick list of different things I can try to solve the problem, and I mean it was great for that. So. Anyway, I find that incredibly valuable, and I was able to solve a problem very quickly, get everything working while sitting in an airport waiting for my plane to show up. So, honestly, it's, especially in areas where I'm very weak in technical knowledge, it can fill in the gaps very quickly. But if I didn't have the technical knowledge, it wouldn't be very useful, I think.
I like your idea about the log files. I've done that before too. I had a gentleman on my community website I host that was not receiving the emails, and I'm like, well, when was the last one you received? And he was like, I don't know, a few days ago or whatever. So I basically downloaded all the log files and uploaded them to Grok, and I said, look for this string, which was his username, and it followed him through all of his interactions from log in to log out through the log files.
Hmm.
And put them in a format where they were all separate, and I was able to browse through that and find the problem. And he had actually put in an invalid email address. So.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
I'm actually curious why you both have chosen Grok.
I've tried a lot of them. It was the
Yeah.
one that I think, it worked well. So
Yeah.
I thought the way I can have different threads of conversations, I wasn't given any like timeout limits. I found the answers to be better than ChatGPT. And then it does the image generation. Also, it has context on who I am as Cubicle Nate, so it can take. It has all that contextual information on me and my website and everything else, and so it was really convenient that way. If I do like a local one, I have to. I mean, I can. And I have fed it a bunch of information, but it takes a while to process through it. And then I can't do the image generation as quickly. And so it was a very convenient tool. And then, so it works quite well in that regard.
1 second. Prophetics says he made a Chrome extension with AI and a TUI app. I'm thinking with AI. I'm just looking at the notes. So, Yeah, I've made a couple of apps with AI, but it took me like 10 times as long as it would just to code it. But yeah, the one thing that I thought that AI was really interesting is when I need to write a bash script, just a simple bash script, like
Oh,
one that comes to mind is I reproduced the what's his name? The Tmux Sessionizer by Primogen. And I made some changes to it. And that took me all of about 5 minutes and it worked perfectly the first time.
Hmm.
It blew me away.
that's
Yeah.
cool. Adam, the reason I use Grok is kind of what Nate alluded to, and that was it understands context better than Claude and ChatGPT. I haven't tried Google's in about 6 months. I was very disappointed back then that even ChatGPT was better than it at that point. It sounds like they've come a long way with it, but the cool thing about it is not only does it understand the context of you and what you're trying to do, but you can even narrow it down to whether you're trying to actually do like a deep search or if you're wanting to like have a conversation and have it think about something. So you can kind of lead it in a direction like that if you want to. That's the big thing I like about it.
So I feel like most of the LLMs have all of these features at this point. That's why I was curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've used Copilot. I almost said cockpit again. Copilot, and that it's been okay. So, but the thing is, like, I can only ask it like if I had a like an ongoing conversation, it would cut me off after 20 messages, and so that would be the end of it. So I can't
You
come
gotta pay
back to a
up, sir.
conversation. What's that?
You got to pay up.
I don't want to, and it's so. So Grok's just served me better there. So
I haven't tried Grok yet. That's interesting. I always try either Claude or ChatGPT.
I haven't tried Claude. I used Llama, the Meta one.
Oh,
And,
that too. I do that
yeah.
one too.
But
Yeah.
I only run that one locally because I don't trust Meta. But I would say, I mean, I think at this point they're, I mean, 6 to 1, half a dozen to another at this point. I just
Yeah.
So what I did think was kind of cool about Grok is it because it does give you references, like it has like a pane where it gives you all the
Mhm.
references that it's pulling from. So
Mhm.
I was asking a question. I was having some issues with some Teams devices at both of the plants actually. So in a nutshell, Microsoft basically bricked their software, and so I couldn't use their software. I had to find another solution to use use Teams for conference rooms, and that's a whole other conversation that I'm still very upset about. But anyway, I was asking, like, this is the problem I'm having. I was actually trying to work it out with Grok. I didn't actually find a solution, but when I was looking at the references because I was going to dig through the references a little bit more, and it actually referenced cubiclenate.com, the setting up the Teams room stuff that I published a while ago, and so I asked it. I said, "Are you?" I said, "I noticed you used this site." It says, and you know that's mine. Are you doing this to try and make me feel better about myself? And it actually told me no. And it says this is a useful. Basically says this is considered valid or whatever information, something along those lines. So I thought it was kind
Oh,
of cool.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think actually though AI is a really good it's actually a really good search engine right now. It's like a better search engine than Google, like by far. Like I don't even like search for things anymore. I just go to Chat GPT or something. Yeah.
The only thing I'd say about Grok is don't put it under the personas. Don't pick the unhinged comedian, or it turns into a pure smart aleck. So,
Well, that makes me want to try it actually. So
yeah, we
Yeah,
should.
I
It's a lot
know,
of fun.
right? Like a Gen Xer here, man. Like,
Yeah,
the
don't do
heck?
anything
Yeah.
serious with it under that because it will be a smart aleck to you.
yeah, I mostly use it. I think what I primarily use it for is just summarizing information. Like I think what was it prophetic? Did you say a research assistant? Is that what you said?
Mhm.
Or somebody said a research
Yeah.
assistant. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good search engine. Yeah.
Yeah. But, well, neat. Well, that's fun. So I guess in the end, would you say, are you more concerned about AI killing the internet or causing people to further isolate, or do you think this is going to be a tool that will ultimately free people up and give them more opportunities to pursue things that they actually is more meaningful to them?
I think actually my concern is the fact of who's controlling the output. This is actually probably the biggest thing because I was turned on to this by there's a channel called ADV China, and they basically used to travel China on motorcycles. Well, they since got kicked out of China and everything, and so they uncovered some things about AI, especially with this new uh the Chinese AI. I can't think of what it's called. I mean,
DeepSeek, yeah.
DeepSeek, yeah. And but they even found some things about like ChatGPT that were troubling. Like you'll never find like you can't prompt ChatGPT to be critical of the CCP. That's
Well,
very alarming to me.
I,
Like I'm saying ChatGPT or some other, AI. I'm not even like DeepSeek, that doesn't surprise me. But ChatGPT?
They all have biases.
Oh my God. But then then Binance, I think it was Binance is the kind of like the money behind DeepSeek, if I remember right. I can't remember that. I think it's Binance, which is basically TikTok. So it's some really crazy stuff there. So that's the things that are more alarming to me. Like if you can control the information, it's kind of like a 1984 scenario.
I
But
don't,
I mean, as far as like, like being able to, you know, use it to, do some simple task, some simple coding project that will take you an afternoon or a couple of days to figure out. I say that's pretty cool, actually.
yeah, I don't really think the information control thing is all that big of a deal because information control has always been there, even before
Mm.
AI, even before the internet.
it's true. We called them
Yeah,
I
algorithms
mean,
before.
yeah,
we would just call that like a standard education, right? The people in growing up throughout the 40s onward they wouldn't have got an education that was critical of their country, right? Why would they? So, information control is always a thing. I wouldn't really say that AI is any worse or better about it than anyone else. Um, yeah, there's a lot of concerns, but
yeah,
to be honest, like all of that is so far beyond my ability to make a difference that
yeah,
I just strap myself in, try and enjoy the ride, because
yeah,
yeah, the people who can make a difference, they all have their own motivations, and I
Yeah,
have
yeah,
very little input as to move those needles.
yeah. No, that's definitely true. I just think like a lot of people think that a lot of stuff that comes from ChatGPT is, at least a lot of times factual. And so they could get misled really
right.
badly.
But people get
That's my
misled
only con
anyway. Like
Yeah, I
like
know.
how
Yeah,
how many people think the Earth is flat?
Yeah, but
Like
this is just
no,
another
it's a
way to
donut,
mislead.
Adam. Come on, it's a donut.
I know that's what
No,
I'm saying. They think it's flat and it's a donut.
Yeah, and the sun's in the
yeah.
center.
Isn't it like a disc or
It's
something?
it's on the
Like
back of a turtle.
Back of a turtle. Yep.
Oh, I
yeah,
like
it's
that.
on the back.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah.
I just
Didn't you
can't.
know that there are people inside the moon?
Well, hold on now.
They're called
That's
Australians. Yeah.
yeah. Also, if Also, I kind of want to. I want to believe that there are transformers in the dark side of the moon. So let's.
There are.
You know, we're just waiting
Maybe.
to revive Sentinel Prime. He's out there.
But no, that's kind of the thing. Like the misinformation thing, it's people get fooled by anything. Like people
Yeah.
have been fooled. You could argue that it's more automated than it was before, and more convincing maybe than it was before. But people like to get fooled. P.T. Barnum, you know, he knew for like a long time ago, right? Like,
Yeah.
people like to be fooled, and that's
I gave my mom a headset to try out VR, and it was one of those like work productivity apps where you can be like in this cabin or outer space.
Mhm.
And I had this like lounge area with a fire pit, and I don't know if you guys tried a lot of VR apps, but like a lot of them look like they're made from like back in the day or Second Life on PC,
yeah.
late '90s era. And my mom was like,
An
"Oh my
episode of
gosh, the
Reboot."
fire looks so realistic," and I almost like I almost had to hold back a laugh out loud because the fire was so terrible looking and so janky looking.
Right.
But it was VR, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, it looks so real," and I was just like kind of laughing. It's amazing what the standard of realism is for today.
It is very true. Like people, most folks, you know, like as also as far as the information control goes, people will never fact check a thing they agree with.
Nope.
Just
No. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, if
Confirmation
If
bias.
it's spouts out something they agree with, they're never going to question it. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
The big problem
That's
I see today is that there's always been biases in information. The problem now is that it's so widespread and at people's fingertips so easily that what you're saying, Adam, is absolutely right. Is they don't want to think critically and just take it for what it's worth, right? They want to believe in it if it falls in line with their beliefs. And that's the real problem is we got to teach people how to critically think again.
I think you're right. You know, there's people who take things just like hook, line, and sinker, no matter what it is. I mean, you know, I believed that if I went to the swimming pool right after I ate, I would get cramps and die in the pool, because that's what I was told when I was 8 years old or whatever it was, right? And so, you know, I mean, I guess it was the best information at the time, I suppose. I guess if you're, you know, people like before the AI discussion, people said, "Oh, Butterfs is bad," or whatever, or KDE is bloated because that was the what people believed for a long time because somebody had a bad experience or a collection of people had bad experiences or whatever, and so yeah, I don't know. I think having the ability, you know, we talk about you know fake news or misinformation or whatever you want to call it. But I think that if you're willing to always question whatever you're being told and then to recheck things, it's like you might have been told this thing, but being adult enough to check the facts later on, like this might be true or this is the best information right now, but this might not always hold true because, you know, the other facts might come out. And I think that a lot of times that's we don't have that, I guess, you know, because sometimes things are just not right. You know, we all believe it, but it's just not right. And I've kind of had, I've been let down by a lot of, let's just say famous people recently. And so I actually, like, I'm a little sad right now. I have been for some months because like just some of the things in the news that just really bothers me. And, you know, and I just sometimes just want to live in a bubble. But anyway, cool. So AI ushering in the apocalypse, I guess. Here we are. Let's have fun.
Savior or the devil? Which one is it?
I know. I'm going to say let's hope it's more data from Star Trek, not T-800 or whatever it is, T-1000 or the Matrix.
Yeah. Well, we are all in the Matrix. Didn't you know that?
Sometimes I wonder if it is a simulation.
it's just,
I know, right? Like, there's some crazy things that happen. You're like, how?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it is an open mic night, so it means any topics are good. And I want to be clear, and I want to try and keep things as positive and upbeat and optimistic for the future. I know there's a lot of negativity out there, some scary stuff with technology. Back in the 90s when I was a youngin', everything with technology was very bright and optimistic, and the future looked great. When cases were transparent, I want to try and keep it like that, personally. And I think
I feel you, man. I feel you.
And I think a great article that I want to talk about. It's a news article for this open discussion, but there's something I thought was really cool. It was on the Telegram channel. We have a news articles section. I like to go through there for the news articles. Eris does a great job of compiling stuff. And something specifically that got me really excited was that iFixit gives the new Fiarphone 6 top marks for repairability, like a 10 out of 10. So did anybody hear about this?
Fiarphone?
Fiarphone's newest, the newest phone. So anyway, it's not cheap or high end, but it should last you for years to come. That's the subtitle of this. So the 6th generation of Fiarphone's repairable mobile was launched. Mobile, I think that's how they say it in Europe, was launched at the end of June. Now, spud your fingers. iFixit gives their hands on and likes the result. So if you actually look at the picture, they actually show you the USB-C connector, and it looks like a module that's removable. So if you actually mess up your USB-C port, you can replace it. So the iFixit site is a great resource for most of us trying to repair or upgrade a computer, especially if it's Mac. But fewer dare to try and fix their phones. But iFixit reckons you'll be able to if you spring for a Fiarphone. The newest model gets a perfect 10. Remove 2 screws and slide the back off. You'll need a screwdriver to swap the battery, though. No more tool-free battery swaps. It's now held on by 4 screws and a cable. It is, however, glued onto a metal backing strip. Replace with it. So 8 more screws hold the screen in place. It's in part because it's not glued together. It only has an IP55 rating for dust and water resistance, not an IP68 some devices boast, but it's still not bad. It means you can walk and talk in the rain, I think. I think that's what 55 is. I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So the nifty touch is the modular USB-C connector, which you can replace on its own if damaged. In total, 12 components are replaceable. So the article goes on and on about that. But do you think, so this is more the optimistic piece of it. So the fact that the new Fiarphone is even more repairable than the previous ones seems like they're pretty A-okay. But do you think this is a positive direction of consumer electronics, that they become more repairable? So like a framework, even the Steam Deck is pretty repairable, not 10 out of 10 repairable, but pretty good. Do you see that a lot of these, that maybe the market might go in a positive direction for technology in this regard? Or do you think this is just an aberration, just something that's going to be basically just for the fringes?
I can tell you what I'd like to happen. I
Let's
would like it to go that way.
Let's start with that. You'd like
I
to
would
go that
like
way,
it to be more repairable and more sustainable. Yeah.
but do you think it will?
Were we supposed to be positive, right?
Sure, but so I guess, like any good story, you have your ups and your downs. So
No,
I think the up is.
I think at some point, I think upcoming generations, it's more important to them than the previous generations.
You think so?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be like ever a 1-for-1, but it will definitely be a growing market, and maybe some companies will adapt and they have 1 or 2 product lines that will make it like repairable, but the major companies will stick to their models, and then there'll just be other companies that step up more and more over time. That's my theory, prediction.
So Fiarphone, yes, but framework. Did anybody watch their February or any of like their press releases about how they're doing and everything else as far as their?
I saw their Framework 12 and looked gorgeous. That device.
All I know about their product announcements. I don't know anything about their financials or anything.
So in their release information that they gave, like about the company and then how it's going in the Q&A. I can't remember the name of the CEO right now, but basically saying they have like a hockey stick growth, like it's going very well for them, and I feel like they're cautiously optimistic, so it's not right. It's not a
Right.
like they're not like, oh, it's gangbusters only from here. I think that they're being prudent about how they grow their business. So they're doing better than they expected, I guess is what I'm saying. And the overall PC market is starting to contract. So laptops, desktops, and so forth. Even the phone market, the mobile market, is contracting a little bit too, because there's not really a need for more powerful machines so much. Like, I mean, how fast can you actually type? So, you know, if you'd write something, I
mean,
suppose
yeah,
now
my-
AI.
My like 5-year-old EliteBook's just fine, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So people aren't upgrading as quickly. So even though the market is shrinking, FrameWorker is growing pretty rapidly. So they've obviously carved out a niche that's working well for them. Now, I'm an IT manager for a couple of facilities, and we're buying a lot of frameworks for the facility. Like that's kind of what the direction we're going, because we can repair them in house. We don't have to send them away. We don't lose productivity. You know, things like that. So for us, it makes, you know, I mean, okay, so we are spending a couple $100 more for another business grade laptop, basically, because we're going to buy business grade machines. We're not going to buy consumer grade plastic garbage you pick up at Walmart. Nothing against Walmart, but yeah, actually everything against Walmart. But anyway, so we're going to buy machines that are repairable, that have some kind of service life, that are durable, and Framework really fits that bill quite well. So Fairphone, building a phone that's more repairable, do you think that has the same appeal, I guess? Like for me, if I get a phone that lasts 3-4 years, I'm happy at this point. So maybe my expectations are wrong.
So I know like repairs on phones can be very problematic these days in terms of like security and stuff, you know, Face ID and Touch ID kind of things, fingerprint readers and other bits, right? But also a lot of the phones are artificially cut off, just software support. And like I feel like that's more of an issue than having a necessarily repairable phone. Like I think repairable phone is important just for the sake of like not creating a ton of e-waste, right?
Right.
But when the companies who control the software artificially create the e-waste, like, you know, iOS is like, hey, iPhone 10s not supported anymore. Is that phone still good? Maybe might need a new battery at this point, but that's about it, right?
Right.
Still fairly powerful machine. You know, like why does it need? Oh, because they cut it off, right? Same thing. Samsung is like, hey, our S8, S9, whatever, like now that's old news. You need to buy a new one, right? And like that's, you know, it's kind of a gun to your head situation with those, because it's like, well, if I don't get a new phone, then I'm at risk of all these security vulnerabilities that they're not going to cover for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you're kind of held, you know, they're holding yourself at ransom, you know, it's like buy a new phone or else, right?
Right.
And I feel like that's part of the conversation that needs to be had as well. And that's true. I mean, I know it's kind of silly for a company to support a phone forever. Like eventually the software moves on, you know.
That's good.
But there's just a lack of options, right? Like if a company no longer wants to support a phone, they should allow that phone to be rooted and supported by the user with open source stuff, right?
Right.
Something like that. And that's the issue that I see is the artificial e-waste creation. And a repairable phone is definitely useful. And the only issue, as you've probably seen with like Framework, right, is like if you make it repairable in that way, you can't lean on the economies of scale that you normally would. And so you've priced a certain amount of people out over time, right? I think the Framework 12 is a good example of them trying to meet that lower cost demand. But like it's the software support that really kills it. Because like, you know, my mom recently upgraded her phone to an iPhone 15 that was fairly cheap. You know, it's a couple generations behind by September, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's more than usable for her. But the point is her 10s, aside from needing a new battery, was also just fine. But we had to move her to a 15 because the 10s isn't supported anymore. So like it's kind of like that, right? It's
Mhm.
then there's no what's the alternative? We can't give an open source thing on our iPhone. It's an iPhone.
Right.
It's now categorically e-waste because you can't do anything with it. You can just run the old OS if you really want to as a collector's item or something, but like it's not useful after a certain point. And so I think that's more of the conversation that needs to be had in terms of phones than necessarily repairing the hardware.
Yeah, I think that the artificial limitations or that you speak of that is a part that really bothers me, because if something is useful, there's really not in my mind, and there are arguments against it, of course, but to me it seems like it's not right. It's kind of unethical to do that, to like just cut machines off just because they're older.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't like that. So at work we have some iPads a little bit older, and they can still do the job they need. From a technical perspective, they can still do the job that we're asking them to do. It's not any harder. It's still just certain websites, certain applications and whatnot, but they can't take any of the newer iOS
Right.
releases. And to me, that's extremely frustrating, because there's no reason that they should not take this newer software.
Right.
They have the
It's even more rapid planned obsolescence, right?
yeah.
Yep.
Like it's super rapid planned obsolescence. It's so planned that you can actually get from the manufacturer, we're going to support this until this date. Like you buy a thing knowing the day it's going to be useless. Like that's that's nuts to me. You know, like a Pixel, it's like, hey, we support it for 7 years. It's like, all right, I buy it on release date, timer's ticking. I know exactly when this thing is useless now. That kind of thing, right? And that's absurd. Like now we look at like the Windows 10, to 11 thing, right? All these machines going end of life because of Windows 10, but like an x86 machine, generally speaking, you can just toss Linux on it. There's a path forward for that old hardware.
Right.
But like with phones, there's not necessarily. Certain
Well,
phones are more
tablets.
rootable than others, and
Mhm.
iPhones are categorically just not. And it's just like it's that lack of path forward for many of these devices, the iPads and stuff. That like, what do you do? They become e-waste, and yeah, they are what they are.
Right. So my son has amassed a collection of basically obsolete phones because he likes them. I don't fully get it, but I guess, he's younger and he has different, each phone has a specific memory or stage of his life attached to it in some way. So he keeps them in a bin, and he tries to update some. He plays with Lineage on some. He wanted to put Android on some old iOS device. I can't remember what it was exactly, but anyway, that aside, I think that's to me, it's very sad that they don't allow for that. Oh, look at Dale. He's got, is he playing cards or is he playing with phones? I can't tell what. Pick a phone, any phone.
Got like a paper fan of
That's
phone.
right. You can probably keep yourself cool with that, can't you? You can wave them at yourself. Might be a little heavy.
Smell that cobalt.
That's right.
They're a little too heavy to shuffle.
Oh, okay. You don't want to crack them up either. But I think with like Android, at least it seems like you have a little more of a fighting chance to keep Android devices going a little bit longer.
Yeah.
In some ways. So there's that. I don't know what so Sean said he has a Pixel 3a that he uses. So he says still daily driving Pixel 3a running EOS, and I asked him what
Yeah.
based on Android.
Lineage OS thing.
Yeah, it says it's an but I don't know. I don't have I don't know what version. Oh, it says it's currently running Android 14, so it tends to lag behind current Android, but a version behind. I mean, to me, that's fine.
Yeah, graphene is another option as well.
Mm-hmm. So
And yeah,
so,
like that, that's absolutely a thing that you can do, right? But then,
Right.
do you have, some of the apps people rely on may or may not be compatible with those, like, say, your banking app or something that, a company might say, like, hey, you're not running this official Android thing. I don't know about you.
mm-hmm.
And, that's a whole other issue. But, like, it's just that, yeah, the fact that phones and tablets, like basically anything that's not a laptop or desktop, is just such a closed ecosystem overall.
Mm-hmm.
And
any attempt to support it, like with Lineage, EOS, Graphene, etc., is like just it's an uphill battle, and it just shouldn't be, right?
Right. So actually, as a consequence, also because Apple devices are a little bit harder to centrally manage, they're more complicated, at least with my Microsoft. Although Microsoft does actually make it, I don't want to pat Microsoft on the back on this one, but have you used Intune before, Adam?
Intune, yeah.
Yeah. So they do make it easier to manage iOS devices, but it's still kind of
They're
convoluted.
still better. There are better products from if you have enough Apple devices in your infrastructure, then you might want to look into something better than Intune. But Intune will get the job done.
It does what we need it to do, and we're actually just
Yeah.
moving toward it. We had no central management system before. Now we actually have one.
Yeah.
And so actually, as a consequence, because of all of these things that those, what I would say, anti-consumer actions that Apple does, we're actually moving away to Android devices for like tablets because
Yeah.
basically we just need a browser and to run a couple of specific applications which are available. And then actually now we can use, so we're actually just pushing an APK that we have from the company, one of the software vendors that we use. We actually just push it from Intune to the devices. So that actually makes it really easy to manage. And so at this point, like it's not even worth keeping Apple devices. So
Right.
I'm not going to. There's just no.
And you could probably get a better deal through a reseller on an Android device.
Yeah, actually, we can cut our cost by about a third at this point. We're getting some Lenovo M11 tablets, so we're spending like $180 per device as opposed to whatever we're spending on.
plus.
Yeah, 300 plus. Yeah. So I really don't see there's not really a good business reason to buy Apple devices at this point for a manufacturing plant. And also people drop these things all the time, and we got to replace them, or I have to replace a screen on it, and I can do it, but yeah. Anyway, so
Time is money.
but sometimes you gotta have fun at the job too, and I kind of like fixing things, so I can justify it.
You know, Nate, I've got a Lenovo Android tablet. Actually, I've got two, and the one thing good I'll say about them is that my older one, it's had 3 updates to the OS. So they, I'm sure y'all have ran into people that have old iPads that are just basically junk now because you can't use them for anything because they don't support anything above TOS 1.0, right? Because they're so old.
Mm-hmm.
And Apple would never, update that. But the Lenovo's are cool because that's one of the few tablets I've seen that updates that much. That they actually update the OS.
And you do have the option of probably throwing something like Graphene or EOS.
Oh, yeah.
After,
Absolutely.
end of life, right? And if all you're using it for is just like a terminal, basically, like a kiosk app type thing, like in a browser, like that's a no-brainer.
Yep. Good choice. Hey, can I bring up something totally not related to what we're
absolutely.
I had a terrible week this week. I won't go into it, but basically my house got struck by lightning.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Terrible.
And I got everything back up eventually by Thursday. But I was going through, I was checking my development file server, and which is Linux, of course, and there was a lot of stuff on there, and I was trying to figure out where everything was. And I ran across a utility, and you guys probably know about this, so let me know if I'm just preaching to the choir. But I ran across this little command line utility called NCDU. It stands for Incursive Disk Usage. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah, dude, that saved me so much time. I'm going to put Nate, I'm going to put the link to the utility in the chat if you want to put it in.
Yes, please do.
Chat. And man, what a great utility. It just blew me away how easy it was to drill down and find exactly where all my files were eating up disk space. It worked really well, easy to use. I mean, I didn't have to do anything but just use it, you know. And but anyway, I wanted to give them a big kudos because that's a fabulous little utility I think everybody should have on their machine.
There's another alternative I like called Dust.
Yeah, I saw
D-U-S-T.
that one.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's a pretty
Saw
nice
that one
one.
too. Yeah. I just I
DUST?
like working with terminals.
D-U-S-T, yeah. It's D-U, but like kind of redone in Rust in the
Oh,
most
okay.
way. So yeah, it's pretty nice. Dust is pretty great.
Well, I mean, it looks neat in the terminal. So I guess I want to address that elephant in the room. So your house got struck by lightning. Was it like a direct strike on the house, or hit like a TV antenna, or to hit like nearby, like a tree or something, and then?
No, it was the worst kind of strike. It hit the ground about, I have a garage behind my home.
Okay.
It hit the ground about 40 feet behind my garage in a wooded area.
Okay.
And it apparently, I talked to an electrician about this, the one that came out to fix a couple of problems, but he said the ground strikes are absolutely the worst kind because they come in through the ground on your electrical system.
Oh,
They
right,
don't
because
come
the ground is your
in the
ground.
common. Yeah.
Yeah, and so everything
So,
uses. Oh man, yeah, I
right,
can see that.
right. So it has the ability to get to everything that way.
Wow.
And luckily, I have a couple of UPSs. All my computer equipment was safe, so it managed not to get to them, or if it did, it by the time it got through the surge protection, it was not enough to matter. But it blew 5 of the what are those called, GFI
Mhm.
plugs.
Yep.
Blew all 5 of them in my house. It blew my internet router. It destroyed my air conditioning unit and the blower unit.
Hmm.
It blew the logic board on my washing machine. What else did it blow?
Yeah, but any of the modern washing machines, they're basically waiting for an excuse to blow anyway. So
Exactly,
that's, you know.
exactly. That old tablet, the 2 Lenovo tablets, the old tablet was on a charger and it blew it.
Oh
It
wow.
destroyed it. But that was really about it. I got off pretty easy considered, except for the $10,000 air conditioning and heating replacement. So
Wow. So the did it like did all your appliances like bite it as well, or did some of them survive?
the only appliance it took was the washing machine. All of my appliances that we have, like the microwave, the coffee makers, all those things like that, were all on GFI circuits, and it just
Oh, okay.
destroyed those.
Okay.
So that even though it was a pain to replace those, it saved all that. So
God, it's cheaper than a refrigerator. So
absolutely,
when the lightning struck, were you at home when that happened?
yes, I was.
Okay. And then were you standing when it happened?
No, I was sitting down, but yes, I nearly peed my pants.
Hey, look, they're your pants. You can do what you want in them.
It was
So,
terrible, man. Everything flashed off and flashed on the instant when it was so close that and it cracked one of the windows in my den
wow.
from the boom. It
So
actually,
I believe it. So what you're saying? How about your vehicles? Did they survive it? Okay.
yeah, they were fine.
Okay. I
Didn't
wasn't sure.
bother me at all.
Yeah, I wasn't
Yeah.
sure because I know they're insulated from the ground, but I wasn't sure if maybe there's like electrical waves through the air that might have
Yeah.
induced on them or not. So so what you're saying is, you know what it's like to be on a starship and getting hit by phasers at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I could feel it too. That was the really weird part. That feeling you get when the hair on the back of your neck stands up?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's how my entire body felt for about 5 seconds.
So did you actually feel that before the strike?
Well, it was so close it all felt at the same time.
Okay.
I couldn't really differentiate, but It was bizarre. It really was.
Was anybody else at home with you when that happened?
Yeah, my wife was home, and of course, it scared the crap out of her.
Did she think it was your fault?
Well, I tell you what, not until I started going around and finding what was wrong, then I started getting blamed for stuff.
Okay. Yeah. I wasn't sure if maybe you were blamed for it or not.
No, but yeah, that was quite an experience. The worst part was dealing with the insurance company. Imagine that.
I imagine that. I have State Farm, not State Farm, Farm Bureau.
Farm Bureau.
Oh, Farm Bureau, yeah.
And they seem really good every time I've had to deal with them. It wasn't very often, but they've been very great to deal with. So.
Well, the worst part was this happened last Friday night.
Oh wow.
And so I figured nothing would start moving until Monday morning anyway. But then when I called them at like 10 after 8 in the morning, and they sent me all the forms. The AC guy had been out Sunday. I called him out, and I sent him the affidavit. I filled out the affidavit. I took pictures. He got the quote together, all that stuff, and we sent all that in. All that was in by 10 a.m. Monday. They didn't award the claim until Thursday. Thursday at about 4 p.m. So I was a little livid.
Did you start swapping out, like doing repairs before the claim went through, or did you wait?
Yeah, I did all the GFI plugs. I took care of those. And actually, I fixed the washing machine.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I got on, I figured it was the logic board. And I got on eBay, and there's a company selling good used and new parts for appliances. And they had a new logic board for $39.
What mod? If I may ask, what
It was a Maytag.
Maytag, okay. How old?
About 5 years old.
Top loader or front loader?
It's top loader.
Okay.
Pretty traditional. The logic board was about the size of a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
So, but I changed that out myself. That was no big deal. AT&T was pretty good. I called them Friday night, and they had a new router on my doorstep Monday morning about 10 o'clock. So that was good. And hey, I got to give them kudos about something. I usually bash them up and down, but I'm going to give them kudos about this. There's the way they set up with their little home internet app that they have for anybody that has AT&T. It's really cool because part of that system is everything that you configure on the router gets saved to a database. So all I had to do was plug the new router in, and all my settings, Wi-Fi settings, firewall settings, everything came back down. And it just started working. So that was cool.
That is great.
Yeah.
I mean, on one hand, that's very convenient, and I would be appreciative. On the other hand, I don't really wouldn't want AT&T having all my rules. So I don't know, unless it's encrypted on their end too. But I guess I don't know how that would work.
Right. But it worked great. I mean, I was impressed from when I plugged it in. It updated itself, and then within 5 minutes after that, I was back on the internet. So the worst was dealing with the heat, though. But anyway.
Imagine. Wow. This is just as an aside, a related aside. Have you seen? There's I don't know how true it is. Maybe it's all AI. No idea. But there was a YouTube short I saw where there was a tree, very tall tree. It's in the U.S. that it gets struck. If it gets struck by lightning, it basically kills all the trees around it, but it survives the lightning strikes, or is largely undamaged by that. And even like if there are vines crawling on the trees, it would actually blow the vines off too. So it's kind of like I wish if I can find that, I'll share it at some point in time. But they're apparently the wood is harder and has a lower moisture content, so doesn't have the expanding water issue that other trees have that have like parts blow off of them. So basically,
Right.
it blows the lightning travels around the outside of the tree, not going through the tree necessarily. It's really pretty wild, and so they can somehow survive.
Huh.
Yeah, it's like a superpower almost. So maybe get some of those trees. No, that probably wouldn't be helpful.
Well, I went and looked where it struck behind the garage, and that I have kind of a draw behind my house, and it's woods and everything, but there's a lot of iron ore
Oh, okay.
in the ground there, so I'm sure that's what it found. But the electrician said, this is kind of interesting, that if lightning strikes and the ground is moist, that if you're within 100 yards of that strike, your electrical system is probably going to get affected in some way. So,
Yeah, there's some trees that got struck by lightning. I think maybe it got struck by lightning. Maybe it was just a bad storm. I don't know. But like when you see them, how pieces of it just kind of like blow off.
oh yeah,
That's pretty crazy.
yeah, that was wild though. But anyway, so that aside, yeah, I ran across that utility and when I was cleaning up my dev server, and I just thought that was neat. I didn't know if you guys knew about it or not, but
Nope, I've dealt with it before. I've had like power surges that have knocked out my washer
huh.
and my dryer, and not a refrigerator. So maybe it was a GFI thing too. I don't know. But I put little like surge protectors. It also knocked out my 3D printer main board. But I'm putting a lot of surge protector stuff everywhere. So, but no, that's pretty wild. I've not experienced such a thing. Has anybody here else experienced a lightning storm type situation where they lost things in their home?
No, I
No.
remember when I was younger, there was some kids playing like a soccer game, and like one of the kids got hit with lightning,
Oh man,
and he was okay, he survived, but like his shoes exploded. That
was he
so, like,
twitchy
we can laugh
afterwards?
because he's okay, but
Yeah.
like, yeah, just like every stitch, just every piece just flew apart.
Oh wow.
But did he have any burns like on his head or arms or hands or anything like that?
Probably.
Yeah.
I was so focused on the hilarity of the shoes. I didn't really register the rest, but
Yeah. Wow,
so soccer moms are dangerous.
that's right. Because they make their
When-
kids play in the lightning.
When I was younger, we had a lightning strike at the house, and we lost the TV out of it. We lost the dryer. Seems like something else. But we had one TV that got hit, didn't blow it up, but the color was all messed up. And we put a magnet on top of it, and it worked fine ever since, as long as we left that magnet there.
Yeah, I wonder if it maybe shifted the shadow mask a little bit, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's pretty wild. So War Thunder says, I've had some shaky situations, but thankfully nothing serious. Father told me his neighbor years ago had a lightning bolt go right through their brick wall. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen I've seen like lightning hit, certain things like structures and stuff, but I even seen it hit a roof once and it just just left this huge hole in the roof. But it's never happened to me personally.
That was one day when we were living. This was like, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago or so. It was like a lightning, thunderstorm. It's in the south, so it's just like all the time, right? So like, I opened the door because I like the rain, and I'm one of those weird people. So I'm standing there
rain's
like
great.
enjoying the rain, and like a lightning strike hit like right in our front yard, maybe about like 5 to 6 meters from me. And it was like, wow, super loud and like bright. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just close this door real quick. I don't think I need to enjoy it today. I'm gonna just go right back where I was.
Now it hit the
Oh.
ground or like hit a tree?
Yeah, it
or-
hit the ground in the middle of our lawn right there. It was bright, loud. Yeah.
Huh.
I was like, well, I'm gonna go back in here. Thanks. I know when I'm not wanted.
I mean, I was in the Army. I never heard artillery as loud as when this thing hit. It was unbelievably loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy loud.
Yeah. What part of the South are you in, Adam?
I am no longer in the South, but I was
Oh.
east of Atlanta.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I used to live in Louisiana, and thunderstorms were rather interesting.
Yeah, my dad's family is Cajun, so we lived in Louisiana for a time. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Funny story. I live just outside Birmingham, Alabama, and I have a buddy from Sweden that visits every now and then. And the first year he came over, it scared the crap out of him when he was here in the summer, because you know how we get thunderstorms
Yeah.
every afternoon. And he just wasn't used to that. And I mean, he was like literally, he would not go outside, didn't want to drive anywhere, do anything, you know, until it stopped. I'm like, dude, that's just every day in the summertime.
There was one time I was going to work in the morning, thinking it's just another day, another work day. And I commuted into Atlanta, so it was like a 30-mile commute, whatever. And
So
so,
it took you probably an hour and a half.
minimum, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I've
and
driven
so-
through Atlanta before. It's nuts.
Yeah, minimum hour and a half. So, I'm like, oh, it's raining pretty hard. No big deal. It's the South. It always rains hard. So I, get my stuff and get in my vehicle, and I'm driving. I'm like, man, this is some really hard rain. And I get onto the I-20, and I'm like, there's like no one around. What's going on? Like what? I'm already like on my way to work. It's raining so hard that all of like the sensors and stuff on my car are flipping out. Like they can't do nothing. And I'm like, I pull off to the side. I'm like, what's going on? I didn't even know it, man. There was a tropical storm. I was just like almost a hurricane coming through, and I'm just like going to
Wow.
work like it ain't nothing because I didn't check the news.
Wow.
I'm just sitting here driving like on my way to work. I'm
Just
like,
another day.
I'm turning around. They're not doing this. Like, no wonder there's no one on the road. Everybody's like, this is a hurricane. What are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just going to work.
Well, when I was a young child, I was actually kind of fearful of lightning storms. I'm not really sure why, because I didn't really have anything happen. But there's, something had happened that caused me to be more fearful of. But I was told that, we have to, lightning can actually fry the appliances or electronics in your house. So anytime there's a lightning storm, I would unplug my Commodore 64 in fear of it getting struck by lightning. Like it was an actual,
Oh, for sure, man.
childhood fear
Yeah,
of mine.
absolutely.
I did the same thing. I don't care if my folks' stuff goes bad, but my TV and my NES, my SNES, they're unplugged. It ain't
Yeah.
happening to these.
Right. Yep.
Well, I've been buying those for about the last few years. I've been buying those APC 650s that have one side of it's the UPS and the other's just surge protection.
Mhm.
I put that on my TV and my DVD player and the sound bar. And
Did they work?
yeah, they everything that was on UPS did not get hurt. So I was.
You heard it here, folks. UPS over FedEx.
But it worked. I think those run about $100. I think that's what they're going for these days. So.
Yeah, you mentioned driving through a tropical storm. Like in Alaska, every winter there's hurricane like winds, like over 100 miles an hour. And so I don't know. Like, I think if I was in the South, I think I would probably just be driving through the hurricane, the tropical storm. It wouldn't be anything different than what I'm already
the only
used
thing
to.
that felt out of place is like there was no one else driving. And we're talking Atlanta, where there's like everybody on the same freeway, and I'm like, where is everyone?
Oh, I see.
Because heavy rain, heavy winds, whatevs. It's like, oh, just a bad storm. And I was like, there's no one
It's
around. What's going
Armageddon,
on?
man. Didn't you know that?
Nope, I did not get that memo. The Google Assistant did not let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really I guess Sean said he says he unplugs things when there's close lightning strikes, but I don't feel like we get real bad storms here. Like I don't remember. It doesn't seem like it happens as often as it did when I was younger. Maybe I just have a warped sense of environmental whatever, but I just feel like we don't really get good thunderstorms lately. So, how about you?
So my experience up here in Wisconsin versus down south is there's a lot more wind up here, but there seems to be a lot more lightning down south than up here.
Yeah, that's right.
That could be. I couldn't say one way or the other.
Yeah. In Mexico, there's crazy lightning, man. Like I've never seen anything like it. Not even in the South. Just like every like 3 or 4 days, it just like you hear like it just feels like it's a ways away, and it still feels like it's like right in your house. Yeah.
Yeah.
The worst place I've ever been, I did some work with the Air Force up in South Dakota. And we would have this meeting every year to go over this project we were working on. And they would fly me up there in like February. And I swore I would never move to the north after going there after about 3 years again in the wintertime. It was terrible. I mean, it was so cold there that they had the little dipsticks on the parking meters to keep your engine warm.
Yep.
So the oil would get and
heater blocks.
Yeah.
Blockers, I should say.
Well, this actually went down in your dip where your dipstick goes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, you put it down in there, and like there were like 10, 15-foot snow drifts. I mean, all over the place. It was just like crazy. And it was like 7 or 8 degrees Fahrenheit. I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah, cold's pretty miserable for sure. Well, cool. So, well, thank you. So it is, we should probably talk about next week. So next week is a distribution exploration week, and I think I don't recall who it was. Maybe it was you, Mike. You brought up Open Indiana as something to look at. So I was thinking, unless if anybody has any issue with that, to check out Open Indiana for our distribution exploration. I know it's not Linux, and this is Linux Saloon. It's Open Solaris essentially. Right. And I don't know if anyone's here from Indiana, but if you are, we can talk about Open Indiana.
I'm sorry.
I can't go back there.
Yeah.
No.
I'll say this, Nate. I loaded it up after we talked week before last about it on a VM, and they've made some huge strides in getting it to act a lot more like Linux.
Okay.
With keeping a lot of the Open Solaris stuff.
So,
Jin, of course, beat me to it.
sorry.
No, it's good. No, I like it. All right, so I guess Open Indiana for next week. So I have not done Open Solaris or any Solaris in probably 15 years or more. So this will be very new for me. Probably more than 15 years at this point. 16 or 17 years. So I guess it'll be fun. Has anybody used Open Indiana before besides you, Mike? No?
I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I've used it in a while. So
I mean, they're probably using a lot of open source software. I don't know. I did exactly zero research on it, and it probably has all the same sort of bits and pieces. But anyway, so I guess let's see the downloads they have. Works on most x86 PCs. Spark has a beta ISO as well. So if you have a Spark station, there you go. Open Indiana.
wow.
And then Scrub Ghost, yes,
Probably.
it does have an OpenSUSE-esque. It's a bird, but it's curling the other way, the tail.
Oh. Wow, that would be interesting. Yeah, I'll take a look at it.
So it says download the current hipster snapshot. So apparently has a man bun and sits in a coffee shop with pants that are a little bit too short and
Skinny jeans.
colorful socks or skinny jeans. Yeah.
I did run into one little thing with it that I'll warn someone. If you're using, what was it? Hold on. If you're using VirtualBox, you have to, on the download page, there's a link that will take you eventually to the latest builds. And you have to use the latest build if you're using VirtualBox. Because there's a bug that won't let you install it. That they fixed. So.
So yeah, they have a text install, a live USB and DVD, as well as a minimal install, and a cloud image. So if you want to deploy it in the cloud, that would actually might be fun to do. I might do that at work just to see how it goes. So, and they have alternate download site too. Oh, I see. All right, so I guess next week, Open Indiana. Let's hope it goes smashingly. Be fun. I like some odd things. I think we should do. Okay, Adam, this might be more for you and me, but should we do like a Windows 3.1.1 challenge? Or would that be out? Would that be out of bounds?
I would love that.
We'll have to see how that goes, because I don't know. It might be fun to see, like, even if you just run with, like, so I did, just as a gag, I ran Windows 3.1.1 on DOSBox on my computer. So when someone came by to check something out, I was actually using Word on Windows 3.1.1, and they just kind of looked at my computer. I was actually projecting it in a conference room, and they're kind of looking like, what's going on here? And so I thought that was fun.
Like, sorry, I'm just writing this up in WordPerfect real quick.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Well,
all good.
I think I had Word version 3 or 2. I think
Oh,
I can't
okay,
recall. Yeah,
That'd have been too rich for my blood.
you can get it for free right now.
Well,
And
sure, but
right,
the time though.
yeah.
I'm actually running concurrent DOS 386 in a virtual machine
Oh yeah.
with DBase 3 Plus and WordPerfect 5.1.
I'll bust out my 486 out of the closet.
I know. I think that'd be kind of fun. I know it's totally it's not really Linux Saloon. It's not Linux related, but sometimes I think it's fun just to like look at where we were 20, 30, 40 years ago, whatever, and see how far things have come, see what's changed, and see what has not really changed. That might be kind of fun to do. But anyway, well, cool. So I guess, next week, Open Indiana. Now, if you have any suggestions, so it could be discussion suggestions, distribution, application, poll ideas, whatever, go ahead and send them to suggestions@linuxsaloon.com. I do check my email. I am a little bit behind again. I think I have like 900 some odd emails, but also I started forwarding all my Gmail to my cubiclenate.com account. So try and make managing my emails a little bit better. It's not working. Maybe I could use an AI to process my mail for me. I have to talk to Anna about that afterwards. But anyway, so yeah, send those suggestions, and be great to talk about it. So I guess we'll go ahead and go down to last call. I would say Swift. I know you didn't. You chatted in the meeting chat here. Glad to have you as always. I know you're probably busy, but I do appreciate you being here. I don't know, Dale, got anything exciting going on, Dale, in your world?
No, still way too busy to do anything that I wanted to do.
Now, I did want to bring up something to you, Dale. Did you notice that the improvements to Zipper have rolled down to the, it's now...
Yes. Parallel downloads, yes.
Yep. So for whatever reason, now they've determined that it is, it's good to go. So I was doing my little script to do it automatically, and then I forgot to do it automatic. Like one time I didn't do it. I'm like, hey, it's doing parallel downloads. So
yeah,
that was pretty great.
I didn't set up a script because I wanted to see when it actually happened, when they made it go default, and yeah, it's been a couple of weeks now.
Yeah, I just noticed it this past week. So I
A
wasn't
lot
sure.
faster.
Yeah, it's so much better.
Yeah.
So if anyone here is running OpenSUSE Tumbleweed, it's not in Leap, current Leap, but I think next Leap it will be. It's having that parallel downloads. That's it's pretty sweet. I'm pretty excited about that. Prophetic, it was good to have you. I think you had to step away for a little bit, but was glad to have you there. Shaston, what's going on in your world?
Well, I'm looking to make a few more videos, and been developing and that sort of thing. So nothing special, but I have a video coming out probably in a few days about Plasma 6.4, which is going to be really, really sick. So I think a lot of people will like it.
Yeah, I think.
And I fixed my lighting, everyone, and my
Yay.
sound.
Well, that's awesome. Congratulations. What did you have to do to fix it?
I just got like one of those Wi-Fi light bulbs, and then it just connects to my phone. And sorry about that. There's some background noise. So I
Sorry,
got like a little
wasn't.
thing going on.
I was not offended. It's all right.
Okay. But
Yep.
anyway, yeah, like I have like let's see here, if I can. I'm so bad with a cell phone, so like I can adjust things, adjust the colors. I can go white. I can. That's not bad. Like I can make videos now. That
Nice.
like I was depending on like the sun to hit at like the right time kind of thing, and yeah, that just wasn't working out so well. So I got a couple other things going on with what is it, Aurora? I want to get some more things set up with Aurora and UBlue and a few other things. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'm up to.
Cool. Well, I was going to make a comment. I've noticed that there's a lot of new, I don't know, like information in the KDE like info
Mm-hmm.
thing. Like if you just type in info, whatever it's called, the sysinfo. So I don't know if you've noticed this. And I just noticed this recently, but they have so I'm not sure when it came out because I've not been able to really keep my head in the game. But I did notice that there's a sensors section now. Now it's not very pretty, but it does. You can get active information on different sensors in the in your system. So,
Oh yeah.
So I got like it tells me my NVMe temperature, the temperatures on the ACPI interface, the gigabyte mainboard I have has a bunch of temperature sensors on it. 6 of them. Tells me all that. It tells me the temperature of the AMD GPU, or APU rather. So it's pretty cool. It tells me like the active amount of power it's using. Like it's fluctuating between 22 and 37 watts. And so I think that's pretty cool. So all these different little things that I think they've just added that I just think is really cool. I don't know. It's neat. All this just the different extra little fun things to play with. The stuff for nerds that most normies probably don't care about. So anyway.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, thanks for joining. Appreciate you being here. Mike,
Yeah.
I'm so glad you survived the strike.
Yes.
That's a wonderful thing.
Thank you.
And,
I'm still, by the way, I'm still in package hell, or maybe I should say package. Yeah, hell's right. Trying to get my open source project out and trying to work with FlatHub and Snappack. And it's like unbelievably complex. So bear with me. I'll get there.
Well, I look forward to. I'm probably getting struck by lightning is a little bit of a setback. So, whenever you get to it, you can get to it. So I look forward to seeing when we get all that worked out. Fantastic. Jinda,
Yes, Nate.
appreciate you being here.
Oh, thanks so much.
Putting up with my tardiness. I know you're upset.
Oh, I threw a fit. I remember.
I know. I cried a little bit.
Yeah, I was completely out of control.
Okay. I'm glad you're here. Also, it's nice that we linked up on LinkedIn. So that was cool.
Oh
Cool.
yeah. I saw your name there. I was like, oh my God, Nate.
Yeah. No, my LinkedIn's very boring. So
Mine too.
I noticed. So glad to have you here. Adam, appreciate you being here. I know you're feeling a little bit not tip top, so thanks for hanging out.
My only regret is I didn't give up sooner.
Which part?
Everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad to be here, and
Yeah.
my plan is to get better and improve my typing speed with this weird keyboard layout. So
Oh yeah, that's right. You got the new keyboard. Yeah.
Yeah.
How is that going?
I'm at 30 words a minute.
That's
on,
great.
Colmac DH layout, so getting there.
So can you operate now where most of your typing can be done with one hand, and then you can mouse with the other one? Is it like one of those situations, or not so much?
No,
Okay.
no, you need both to type full
Okay.
words. Yeah. It's more about like splitting the keyboard up from ergonomics sake.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had one of those Microsoft ergonomic keyboards long ago. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, so think of that, but like
Two
split
separate.
them apart so like
Yeah.
you can, because you can basically keep them at like the width of your shoulders, right? So you're not pulling your arms in and twisting your wrists out. Your arms can stay straight, and your neck and shoulders can be completely relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like much more comfortable that way.
But how am I supposed to develop the weird hunch, the office hunch, over time if
You
I
can
have a
still
keyboard?
hunch.
Okay.
Yeah, you can totally still hunch.
Yeah. So, because if I don't have like my sciatic nerve like going
Yeah.
off, how I don't know.
I mean, if you don't have the Quasimodo thing going on, then you're just not doing it right.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
That's my plan. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I want to hear. I'd like to know like how that. I know you shared a lot of cool information with me on that. So whenever you want to talk about it, that'd be great.
We can do it
Alright.
after the show if you like.
Yeah. But I mean, like also for show 2 stuff as well. All right, I have a website called cubiclenate.com. Check it out. I haven't published anything in over a month because of work has been up to my eyeballs. So that's the way it goes. Anyway, so Saloon is part of the Tux Digital Network, so check out more great shows at tuxdigital.com. I want to thank you all for your support. However you do it, being a part of this conversation, both the Zoom meeting, the YouTube stream, and all of you that watch the show after the fact. Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to thank everyone involved in making the Linux and open source tools possible for us to not only use our technology, but to enjoy it, to have fun with it, and truly put personal back into personal computer. Thank you for stopping by. Be sure to tip your developers, and please remember to Linux responsibly. Until next time, see yous.